Bam. What's going on, everybody? Good morning and welcome to this lovely Wednesday morning. My name is Elliot. You can see it right here. And I am the host of the morning show, which I keep saying this. I'm going to keep saying it. The name is going to change. Now, I mentioned originally at the end of the year, but no, I think it might be maybe January, February of next year because I have a lot. Apparently, I have a lot more than I thought I have to do to prepare the reveal of the art that I have for you guys in reference to my comic. But yes, welcome to the morning show. Today I have a really good show for you. Normally we talk about art, but today I have another writer. I think that's 3 weeks in a row. So I'm really enjoying these shows where I get a chance to talk to writers and get to look at the other aspect of comic book making, which is writing. And yeah, so my guest today is an advocate, an avid advocate. I don't know if that would work, but yeah, he's an advocate for writing, and he promotes writing, and so it's going to be a real pleasure of mine to have him on today and get a chance to talk to him, and yeah, hear him out in terms of what's good writing, and how we should get it done, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of the art of comic book writing. And so just yeah, hello to everybody. I have a comment here from Neff. I really appreciate it, man. He was the first, and he was so early that he came on the show yesterday. So I appreciate the support, Neff. Always a pleasure to have you. And yeah, so let's welcome my guest. A big round of applause for Telepathic Bunny. And here we are. Hey, how you
Hey.
doing, Telepathic Bunny? What's going on?
Oh, hey man. What's going on? You just call me T Bunny. Uh,
T
You
Bunny.
know. Yep.
Nice.
Got a little
And
bit of echo going on there, man.
you do? I do?
Yeah, I can hear you echoing a little bit.
Oh wow.
You might have like another window open or something. I do that all the
Do
time.
you hear me now? Am I echoing now?
Nope, nope. I
A
still
little
hear it,
bit?
but that's fine. Let's
Oh man.
continue. It's the big deal. Uh, yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
tell us about yourself, T Bunny. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm a first time comic book creator. I'm currently working on my lifelong passion project called community service, um, and I've got a lot of writing under the bridge, but just now starting to get pages together. I'm down like 18 deep. Got a lot of like ancillary images and stuff like that. That I'm showing people, but yeah, going to do a sign up list sometime later this year, hopefully, and then hopefully start getting the comic out, the campaign up next year, uh,
Nice.
early next year sometime, probably.
And the comic is called Community Service, or is this a different project?
No, it's called community service, but
That's the name of the comic.
the book I'm working on right now is for the first arc of it's called Escape from Little Bighorn,
Oh,
and
nice.
the first three books are going to be called preambles, articles, and uh, what is that? The It's the three parts of the Constitution. Um,
Oh wow.
what is
Preambles,
that?
articles,
And
amendments, right?
amendments.
Amendments.
Amendments. The last one's amendments. Yeah.
Nice.
Um, yeah. So it kind of works neatly into three books, and so because it's a patriotic theme book, it just worked out to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
hold on, let me see if I can pull this up.
No problem.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the character of the story.
Yeah, Ironsides. Right. 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 Right.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely my main character. Uh. But this first book is kind of like just introducing. Introducing the world. So it's 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 kind of, it does have some action in it, but it's more of I've got a guide to my world that I kind of introduce, called Mr. MacGuffin, and which is kind of funny. It's kind of a I guess it's kind of a joke because MacGuffin is a plot device
Yeah.
that gets seeded throughout the story that may not even be in the book, but
Yeah.
it's like a center focus onto a story, um, that kind of like moves the plot along.
Like
Um,
the Infinity Gems in Avengers.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
The Ark of the Covenant was a MacGuffin, you know.
Nice.
But yeah, so his name is Mr. MacGuffin, and he's kind of like the guide. And you're not. He seems to have like a lot of. He seems to be a little bit omniscient, you know, in a way. And he kind of like knows everything that's going on, and he's kind of leading you through the world. But it's basically Ironside's story, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's basically he was like the greatest hero of this world. He's great. He's the American hero, all American hero, and
Nice.
he was actually written into the Constitution. One of the he had like a entry in the um, Bill of Rights. They wrote him basically into the Bill of Rights, and he was supposed to be there to uh, basically be America's liaison with the powered people. Uh, yeah, he was supposed to be like either just for like govern the powered people in the country, and
Nice.
uh, and he did that job for over 200 years, a little under 200 years, and did it well. I gave his life for the country because he has this regeneration thing. Uh, you remember that whole thing of where Alan Quartermain, Africa will not let you die.
Yeah.
You know, well, he is that's kind of like him. He's died for his country 9 times, and he's been brought back nine
Oh,
times.
nice.
But this last time, um about 50 years ago, he got ambushed, and that's how he got the crystal arm and the eye. And if and basically they relegated him to a desk job, and because he thought this is the only way he could protect his country, he took it. And and for 50 years he ages slower than human, but he started aging, and so basically became an old man behind the desk. And then he finally realized that they basically just stuck him there to get him out of their way, right? And so he comes out of retirement, determined that, you know, he's going to be the one last ride because he knows he's mortal now, but and that if he dies this time, he's not coming back. But he still doesn't hesitate, you know. And so I'm kind of like, um, it's kind of like what I'm exploring is like the old style patriot, right? That original s- patriotism that was in the founding fathers, you know, because
Exactly.
he was around when they were around. You know, he part of the foundation of the country, and
Wow.
it's like bring him to the modern day sensibility, because everybody that he's going to be working with, everybody's going to be fighting with. It's called community service because all these people are criminals.
Oh, wow.
Uh, in some way, shape, or form, they have transgressed against society. You know, and uh, and they're basically working off. This is a brand new program because before Howard, there's an amendment to the Constitution that basically, uh, around the time that he was ambushed, uh, he um, he basically was in the hospital bed when he found out that they'd been passing this amendment to the Constitution that basically erased his mandate and put the power into a federal agency called the FERA. and the Federal Expressor Regulatory Agency, because
Uh-huh.
that's what they're called, expressors. But there's like two avenues that allowed powered people. You could work for the government, you could live unpowered, or you could be incarcerated. That's pretty much the only three things, right? But this program comes up. This program's like created to provide a fourth alternative. It's basically take people out of incarceration and put them back in society. And
Nice.
so this is the people he's going to be dealing with. People
And,
who have,
and,
yeah.
and you have 19 pages of this already written out, or have you already gotten these three arcs, these three parts
Um,
written
yeah,
out?
the arcs are already written. Right now I'm
Okay.
just in production with the art. Um,
Nice. 19 pages in already?
yeah, yeah.
Nice. And what's the page count for the first book?
First book is going to be between. I'm not entirely sure. It's going to be around 32 pages, I think.
32 pages. Nice.
Yeah. Um, well,
Nice.
we'll
Awesome.
see. I think I might pull some stuff out and do an auxiliary book, like an ice can or something.
Nice. That
Um,
sounds great.
oh, the
I
great
like this.
Odin Dasco showed up. Hey, man.
Yeah, wanted to say hi to the people that just showed up in the
Yeah,
chat.
go ahead.
What's
Go
going
ahead, man.
on, Rob
Yeah.
Wilson? Appreciate you stopping by.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Chauncey Hale, man? Good to see you. And yeah, he's listening while he's at work. And
Right.
Hojo, what's going on, Hojo?
Yep.
He
Yep.
says nefarious being the first one and only one is like being the tallest midget. No one cares.
It's like the Lepresti say, "Hey, welcome. You're first in the chat, and that gets you nothing." I love
Yeah,
that. I
man.
love us too. I really do.
Yeah,
Adore 'em.
yeah, they're great. They're great. And Odin's here. What's going on, Odin? Great to see you,
Good
man.
morning, man. Good morning.
I was on the 80s show
Oh,
this past Saturday, and
oh
I'm
wow.
a little bummed out that the stream didn't stay on YouTube because it was struck down. But it was a
Yeah,
great time. And
yeah. Well, they routinely get struck. He's like 6 hours
yeah,
worth of stuff on there.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and
uh,
they go all out on Saturdays. Yeah, that's some
oh
great
yeah,
stuff.
oh yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm like a man with your Christian sensibilities on that show. Jeez Louise, that must have been like taking a stroll in Sodom and Gomorrah, man.
yeah, it was out there, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, they're fun. They're
I'm not,
fun. I
yeah,
love
I'm not
those
bashing
guys. I do.
anybody. Yeah, it's
I do.
just good stuff. It's good fun.
Oh yeah,
And
it is. It is.
and yeah, Rob's saying hello to everybody. What's
Hey
going
man,
on? And
what's up?
if you can, if
Mhm.
I may,
Go ahead.
what got you into writing? Like, what allured you into the whole realm of writing? If you,
Well,
or and specifically also what got you into comic book writing?
okay. Well, it's the same as you. You know, what did you do? You started doodling.
Yeah,
And then you're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I enjoy this. And then you started like doodling some more, and then you started pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself, and eventually you like drew something that you thought I'm going to show that to people, and then you showed to people, you got feedback, and then you got passionate about it, and then you practiced and practiced until you got good. It's the
nice,
exact same thing with the writing,
nice.
right? Uh,
How would you get how have you gotten accolades or recognition for your writing? How have you gotten feedback point that would make you think that, oh, I'm good at this? Is there
well, to be honest, I was in. I've never been published, but officially. But
yeah,
I have a fan fiction page that like really is to this day one of the top clicked fan fiction pages. On fanfiction.net. And it's I just like wouldn't I like the challenge of writing in someone else's world with someone else's characters, but making it feel like it's theirs.
yeah,
Um, like I have a sequel to Harry Potter series,
oh, nice,
and I got one book done and stalled in the second book, but the first book was like really it
yeah,
made rounds. It had a fan fiction page at one point, um, and biggest compliment that I've ever gotten is this lady. I had a mash fiction called "Closer Than a Brother." It's like a continuation of the Hawkeye BJ relationship that concludes at the end of
Nice.
the show. Um,
Nice.
and this lady said that she walked around a casino reading my book rather than gambling. I was like,
Nice.
well,
That says a lot. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was like, that's the best compliment I've ever gotten. Anyway,
Nice.
but yeah, that's the thing is, uh, I like I started writing for myself, and writing stories that I wanted to read, um, and you know, eventually I got to where I was like, hey, let me show some other people,
Hmm.
and got that feedback. They took a creative writing class, and
Nice.
I had a teacher basically tell me, she's like, I can't really teach you anything.
Mm.
You're well on your way. You know, the people that I need to teach are the people that I need to uh, they're basically, they're not where you are, you know. So
Yeah.
uh, so she would actually use my writing as like classroom illustrations and things like that. And so uh, but you know, a lot of what my writing is all the reading I've done. I've got
Nice.
interspersed among my little hovel here. I have 5 bookshelves full of
Nice.
books. I've got enough. I got my own small library here, and you know, it's
Yeah.
uh, my housemate, we call him Drunk Craig around here, because he, you know, he cracks a beer and pretty much, you know,
Yeah.
that walks around making snarky comments to me off camera, you know. But
Nice.
he
Eh,
he was like joking with me, and he's like, "You, it's no way you know all these books." I was like, "Try me." And so he
yeah.
walked around the trailer and he like pull a book out and he'd take it in here and he's like, "All right, what about this one?" And I'd give him the plot synopsis, I'd give him the writer, I'd give him my observations on the book. And he kind of
Nice.
looked through it, he thumbed through it enough to see that I knew what I was talking about. And he did that for like about well over an hour. He's finally like,
Nice.
"Okay, I guess you have read everything, you know."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a
But
great hobby to have. Reading is also really good, and
mhm.
it goes hand in hand with writing. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
it's yeah, the two go together. Yeah, that's awesome. It's really good. And
Hmm.
why specifically comic book writing, and not, like, for example, writing novels, or
Right.
maybe screenplays, or what is it about comics in general that
Um,
allured you to that?
well, I started out with the illustrated Bible when I was a little kid. My dad read out of the Bible, but it had these illustrations in it, and it was not like a modern children's Bible that like makes everything fluffy and harmless and
Mhm.
neutered. This thing had like men dying in flames.
Mhm.
You know, the Witch of Endor. It actually showed ghostly Samuel. You know, and the
Nice.
it had the angel of death with the sword pointed towards Egypt. You know, I mean, it just some scary images. Chariots of Fire, Valley of Dry Bones. You know, cool stuff. Great illustrations in it, and that's where I started associating story with image. Um,
Nice.
and So when I found my first comics, it was like a natural, uh, you know, progression for me to go, and it made me realize that comics is the purest storytelling form that we have.
Mhm.
It's a hybrid of art and writing, so it basically melds the two, and what you get is a basically a storytelling form that has permanence to it. Okay, uh, writing can get dated. Writing can eventually uh, kind of like age itself. You know, just from references and things that are in it. But a comic will never age itself. It's always going to be relevant because it's a frozen moment in time,
Yeah.
unless you date it by referencing things.
Of
Uh,
that time.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which most comics are very timeless because, you know, even if they're in that time, they're historical records of that time,
Hmm.
but they still tell a story, right? Uh, the mistake that people are making now is that they're not telling a story; they're telling the politics.
Yeah.
And politics is a very ephemeral thing that doesn't have any permanence. But for the most part, I read a comic like the Mutant Massacre from X-Men uh, deeply affected me because it
You
was
said Mutant Master of X-Men.
the Mutant Massacre
Ah,
of the
Master.
Morlocks.
Ah,
The
yeah.
whole entire arc. I bought everything that was in that arc, and it
Is that
really
Claremont? No, no.
well. Claremont was like over the X-Men room that put that
Ah.
together.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but there's a female writer in his room. It wasn't Ann Nocenti. It was the other one that was really big. Yeah, it's flown my mind. But she wrote a version of this children's comic. It's basically it wasn't a children's comic. It was a comic starring children that Marvel put out called Power Pack.
Power Pack.
Yeah, and it was just these kids that got these alien abilities, and and it was just a bunch of kids. It was like from one family, uh, and uh, and they basically stuck them in the middle of the mutant massacre, and they're trying to save their Morlock friend Leech, and Franklin Richards was part of that group at the time, and he had like his godlike ability to like hey TB,
What's up?
they had this godlike ability to like project dreams basically, and because he couldn't project himself to Leech because Leech canceled powers, his power brought Leech to them, and so they knew
Oh,
Leech was in trouble. And so they go down into the mutant massacre, right in the middle of the mutant massacre. They go down to those tunnels to try to find Leech, their buddy, and I mean they run into Sabretooth, they run into the Marauders, run right
yeah.
into smack into the Marauders, and they live to tell the tale. But she wrote it so well that she didn't blink from all the dead bodies. She didn't blink from all the dangerous concepts. I mean, they run into Sabretooth and they managed to survive it, And he goes at him hard. I mean, he's Sabretooth.
Yeah,
He ain't
yeah.
you know
He ain't playing.
he's
Yeah.
an animal, right? But they managed to get out of all these things, and they managed to come out the other side and tell a very compelling story. And it there's never a moment I got pulled out of it. There's never a moment they didn't act like kids. There wasn't a moment I didn't believe they were in danger. There wasn't a moment uh, that I thought, okay, this is not realistic. And and that comic kind of like showed me what the art form's capable of. Um, and and what that did for me is that's my Mount Rushmore. I mean, my
That
like
storyline.
that's my Everest. I want to if I tell a
Nice.
story, I want that kind of uh, purity, that kind of authenticity, and
Nice.
because I mean, there were so many things that she could have done wrong with that, but that writer's room at that time, that X-Men writer's room, that was the
It's
pinnacle.
so yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That was the pinnacle of comics right then.
Yeah, yeah.
I doubt you'll find a better collection of writers in the history of comics than that writer's room at that moment. Um,
Was Jim Shooter was the editor in chief at that time?
he was. He definitely
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jim Shooter. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's a
Massive.
bastard, and there's a lot of people that hate his guts. But you know what?
No, I love that guy.
Marvel was flying high. They
Yeah,
were
I love that
flying
guy.
high,
That guy
man.
was a great visionary. He had a lot of vision, like he's just immense
Well, he called
capability
balls
of
and
yeah,
strikes, and
yeah,
he didn't mind hurting people's feelings,
yeah,
because
yeah,
people are especially artistic people. Let's face it, we're all flaky. We're all flakes,
yeah,
man. We all wear our the same thing that allows us to access art is the
yeah.
same thing that makes us basket cases for the most part. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. The majority. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, if you find somebody who ha, has no passion, then that's not an art. That's not an artist. That's a
Yeah,
businessman. And
Exactly, and then the passion that artists and writers and creatives that they employ is the same passion that makes them weak and
right,
susceptible to. Yeah, that's true.
right,
That's very true.
right.
Awesome.
Well,
And I like for example what
go
Jim
ahead.
Shooter brought and his attitude towards getting things done
Hmm.
and being honest about it. The same thing with Neil Adams. The same thing now,
Right.
for example, with John Malin. In some
Hmm.
cases, when he gets into coach form and he
Yeah.
tells you you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, and then
Right.
it's what people need to hear, and that attitude it does more good than harm, I think, for
Well,
the new.
well, that's the thing. We've all had those teachers who were really
Yeah.
tough, and I'm not talking about the assholes, the ones that wanted to destroy people. I'm talking about the ones that were just like, they said, okay, you're capable of more than this, and I expect more from you.
Mm,
And they made you strive, they made you reach, they made you clarify just what you were doing.
mm,
And basically you might have cussed them while you were there. You might have cussed them the whole time you had that class, but then the hindsight is when you really see how much they benefited you.
yeah.
uh and I think the that's the thing that we've lost a lot is like if you can't take criticism for your art, then you're not truly wanting to make art. You're wanting to uh you're basically like spurging on the page. You're just it's
Yeah.
basically something that you're doing for yourself. You're
Exactly. Yeah.
not really doing it for
Just for
other
self
people.
gratification. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just do things for self gratification, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's good or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And we've got those people that are creators, or quote unquote creators, and you can tell that they're doing it for the paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, they're basically making choices that they think people want to see, rather than making choices that are artistic or are truly authentic. And
Awesome.
and those people, they don't care. You can give them critique all you want. They don't care. They got paid.
Yeah.
You know.
They're laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe they're not even laughing to the bank, but it's like, well, you know, we encountered a guy in our group, my think tank group called the Genesis Crew.
Yeah.
Hojo and Odin both are part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna. Yeah. I wanted to get
Yeah.
into that also later on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
No. Yeah.
we
Go. Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Well, we encountered somebody and basically he was just putting out really subpar stuff, and and he would ask your opinion, and it was after the fact, right? But then and then he would just say, "Oh, thank you for your input," but then it changed nothing. He would change nothing,
Mm,
what we realized was he didn't want our input; he wanted our praise,
yeah.
and he wouldn't accept anything but praise, and he wouldn't hear anything but praise, and uh, and that's not how you grow. That's just not how you grow.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and that's the Genesis Crew logo right
Yeah.
there.
Awesome.
We
Yeah.
actually have
And,
our motto is start something.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
wanted. Yeah. Well, now that you touched the subject, let's jump into this for a little bit.
yeah. Go ahead.
So if I'm not mistaken, the Genesis Crew is a group of creators that are working together.
Hmm. Yeah,
What would be the mission statement of the Genesis Crew? You mentioned
yeah.
start something. What could you?
Well, we are the etymology is this: Genesis is the beginning. Genesis
Yeah.
is the spark of creation. It's the beginning of the Bible, and it's become synonymous with with generation. Of thing. I mean, generation is like root word is Genesis. I mean, so and the crew part of it is CR umlaut E,
Yeah.
same as Motley Crue. Okay,
Mhm.
and we started out with CREW, but they found out there's this this crew out of South Korea, dance crew, has Genesis crew. So when we went to
Nice.
when we had to change that, but so when I went to change it, I was like, wait a second, Motley Crew, and
Yeah.
so we just add a little rock and roll onto this, right? But
Yeah, why
Nikki
not?
Sixx,
Yeah.
the bass player for Motley Crue, had a really famous thing. He said that when they left, when at the end of the day, when they leave music, they want to have left a nice scar on the face of music, and I
That
just
sounds
like
great.
the idea of like making a mark.
Yeah.
And so basically, our philosophy is just basically uh, it's just like creation, critique, and improvement. And
Nice.
we'll throw stuff into the middle of it, and we'll be honest with each other, and we'll encourage each other. Uh,
Nice.
Hojo,
Yeah, yeah. Says I
Hojo's
have
big,
no
yeah,
idea
no
to
idea
who
who you're
you're
referring
referring
to.
to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't tend to speak the name, but yeah, but
Voldemort.
mainly because he take it and make himself a victim out of it, and we're
Nice.
not going to give him that. Um, but the basically what it is just a collection of artists, a collection of writers, collection of artisans,
Yeah.
and we've got a great group in there. We just we added Eric Nineltowski yesterday from Shadow Sentry.
Oh, nice.
Um, it's funny. I asked him like months ago if he wanted to join, and he finally got back to me when I asked him for his cover commission rate. He's like, "Oh,
Nice.
I said, by the way, this other thing, I never got back to you, but yeah, I'd like to join." So I was like, "Oh, okay, Uh,
Sweet.
but we basically um it's just not like the crack pack or something like that. Maybe we'll be more open with it later, but
Nice.
it's basically just a collection of a safe space for people to come in, drop ideas, workshop some things. We also we're concerned with the future of where crowdfunding is headed,
Yeah.
and we have these discussions and things like that. Uh, we're about to in the next few days, probably as soon as we get the bugs worked out of it, we're going to launch an initiative that we're right now tentatively calling it "Buy One Back One." Okay, and because of there's such a disparity in our community right now, CG of or and associated communities, uh, that people who are ex pros are getting back to the tunes of you know $10,000 in a in an hour,
Yeah.
uh, and that's a low end. Okay, and then you got people who have $10,000 campaigns that will go 60 days and barely fund. And so the idea is while you're backing, now we're not saying stop backing these ex pros, because some of these people have worked hard. They got their name honestly. They dealt with the industry inside for years and years and years, and they deserve any success they're getting. That's not what we're saying. Um, so we're saying while you're backing these pros, look around, find another campaign that's under 10,000 that's struggling, and that's worthy, that you like it, like their art or like their story premise, and back that too. Maybe even at the lowest tier, but back it,
Yeah.
and move the needle for them.
Nice.
And all this money is being spent right now, and it's been spent in the direction of people who basically already have resources.
Yeah.
And all we're saying is, while you're backing these people, why not also back one where you're going to make a real difference for them? You're going to give them some of that resource. And we're not even saying back them at the highest tier or anything like that. We're even if there's a digital, back a digital or something like that. But
Yeah.
anything's going to move that needle. Uh, And
How,
so,
how do you how are you guys approaching the like promoting this idea? Like it's going to
well,
become a hashtag
yeah, it's gonna be a
or
hash. It's gonna be a hashtag. It's also I'm working on a script for a video I'm gonna put out, and
yeah,
this is last night. Luke Stone talked a little bit on his show because he's a Genesis crew member, and Piper Steed is a crew member, and
awesome.
Redshift Todd Redshift Comics. They were on Nerdcap. He's also a crew member, and basically all we're saying is we're not trying to take food out of the mouths of these ex pros. Most of them most of them are over 100,000, or 80,000, or they're high numbers,
Yeah, yeah,
and that can produce these books because they have these high numbers, and they have renewable resource. People are going to pay them top dollar for art. They're going to pay them top dollar for their output anyway, and so they have like resources they can tap into that
nice.
smaller creators aren't going to have, and so this is not about equity either. This is not about you know, like making them pay their fair share, or it's not communism. This is not socialism, and we're just like based on merit. Okay, while you're backing one of these pros, look around for a campaign, a smaller campaign that's still funding, or even it has already concluded, that could use a boost, and
Uh-huh.
back them at whatever tier you feel appropriate. The one that you like, that you like the premise or you like the art. Uh,
Nice.
but take a chance. Take a chance on a smaller creator. While you're getting the sure thing, maybe roll the dice a little bit on somebody that could really use
Yeah,
it. And I don't know if he'll catch on. It may not. I don't know how it'll be received. There's been some concern in the group that maybe the pros will think that you're trying to like rob their piggy bank.
yeah,
But that's not what this initiative's about. The initiative's just
yeah,
there are campaigns that struggle to get to their goal, that really deserve to get to their goal. Uh,
yeah,
that while you're throwing six figures at a campaign, a second book or third book on this campaign, giving this person more resources, why not take some of that and maybe move it over here to somebody that you can move the needle for? Like somebody like
yeah,
Fractured Echo had a $10,000 uh, initial goal, or somebody like Kami Mark's Krishna Kid, who has a
yeah,
$10,000 initial goal. Uh, and both of those books are incredible. I backed both of them.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's going to be like I guess I would
our
say the
Rift
fine
Riders.
line.
Rift Riders is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like the fine line to getting that accomplished and to making that a success would be to make sure that the book is indeed
Yeah.
a good because
Right.
there have been many there have been some or many books
Mm-hmm.
that that I would say in my own experience that I've rolled the dice
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
and have come up short with like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. So it
Right.
would be good
Yeah.
to
Well,
I
we
don't know.
just
I guess like make like a checklist of things. I don't know, but or to bag people
yeah.
that you have a strong sense that would put out a good quality product.
Right.
But
Right. And
yeah,
yeah, like something like Kimosabi's Company Men. Is a
yeah,
brilliant book, and he barely met his funding goal, and that book is incredible.
yeah,
And it's everything. It's like that '90s style image, but with a lot of espionage in it.
yeah,
And and basically, all we're asking is for people to start taking chances on
yeah,
smaller creators again,
yeah, yeah.
because
Yeah, because there is untapped talent out there. That's undiscovered
yeah.
talent would be the best word.
Well,
That's really good.
CG and associated communities, at its founding, the idea, the beauty of it was there were people that the mainstream wouldn't spit on if they were on fire.
Exactly. Yeah,
That have never had a chance to create, have never had a chance to put anything out, and
yeah,
uh, and CG initially would would basically fund these people. And I mean, your boy Zach had a first book, had never done anything before, and people funded that to several $100,000.
Yeah,
But Von Monster, the Monster MD guy,
yeah, he got 100 G's. Yeah,
but his was on the back end after people read the book. That
yeah,
but
that
he
is
got
true.
a really
That is
nice.
true. Yeah,
And some of these numbers that used to go to these first time creators, and there was people who took advantage of it and ran with the money. Yes, that happened, and
yeah,
that did happen. And not saying that didn't happen. And I think it's caused people to be gun shy, but there are people that are genuinely in the community, people that aren't going to go anywhere. That have these campaigns that deserve to at least get another look.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah,
a book that just came out, Rod Looper was the artist on, called Fractured Echo. I had
yeah.
him on my show, and that book was just genius.
Yeah, Raw
Um,
Looper is an excellent artist. I know
yeah,
he works a lot, and I know he's also working with Painted Death for
yeah,
Michael Bancroft, and I
yes,
would
he
love to
is.
have him on the show one day because he's
Right,
an excellent
right.
artist. But I know he's working like a mad dog. He's got like a bunch of projects under his belt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But that campaign could have used a boost, but because it
yeah,
looked like a Dead Space, I think is the name of the game.
yeah.
So
I
a
think
lot
so.
of people thought it looked like that, and so they didn't back because they're like, oh, if I, it's a knockoff of Dead Space, and it wasn't. It's entirely different. It
Yeah,
had that look, but it didn't. It was entirely different. Book, but somebody like him could have used the boost.
yeah,
Or but then you got somebody, and this is we're capable of this because you got Aquila, that book first time creator, comics aardvark. You did a
yeah.
cover for him, I believe, right?
I did some pinup work for him. Yeah.
Right,
Really good
right.
stuff.
And that book, he wanted to get to the goal of making color, putting color in his art, and he was like coming up against the last day, and Bancroft put him on, and he blasted through that goal. So
Yeah,
people,
him and
Mhm.
D-Wag also did a lot that
Right.
to push that those last few days. Yeah, good stuff.
Right, right, and so that's a creator that no one's seen before. Um,
Yeah,
but Kimo Sabi swears by his script. Michael Loden
yeah,
swears by his script, and so I know this book is going to be incredible in the writing area.
yeah,
And
definitely.
the art is really awesome. That Carly Savejo, I think her name is.
Yeah, Sal Viejo. Yeah, I think.
Savio. Okay.
I'm not
I
sure what she's
I'm
from.
sorry, I'm Southern. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no
I can't
worries.
do that Latino thing, but
No, no worries
but
at all.
Savio. Okay, right.
Yeah,
But I mean, her
Sal
art is
Viejo.
just incredible, and
Yeah,
she's entirely. She has never done physical art. She has always done digital. So she's one of the first artists I've seen that's almost entirely. Yeah, there you go.
just chilling myself for a little bit.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Uh, but yeah, but that comic that blew through its goal and kept going, and people backed it.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is, some of this money that's just going to like back these ex pros over and over again, because people will buy those books like multiple tiers, multiple covers, and they'll go back and buy
yeah,
another
yeah,
extra. I know
yeah. That is,
people. I know
yeah,
people that'll back some of these guys 4 or 5 times. I'm just
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
take one of those times and
And
find
apply it here. Yeah,
find somebody
yeah,
you can move the needle for. And
exactly. And get a sweet pin up while you're at it.
right there you go, there you go. Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
and yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to catch
Uh,
some of these comments that I
Go ahead.
missed
Go ahead.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Odin said earlier to
Mhm.
when I was commenting about the stream
Yeah.
that I was on Saturday. He said, "Yes, the Lord struck it down. I looked back, and now I am a pillar of salt." That's a
Yeah.
nice reference.
Went
Nice.
biblical on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then, yeah, Rob said, was saying to what you were mentioning earlier, he agrees with this wholeheartedly. I look for smaller campaigns, even if
Right.
it's not my cup of tea. I'm willing to give it a chance. Yeah, I agree with that also. I
Right.
did that a lot in my when I first came across CG.
Yeah.
I'm not
Mhm.
doing it as much now because of the
Right.
shipping
Yeah.
to Peru, but yeah, some of those. I've backed a lot of books that I was greatly surprised with,
Yeah.
in the good sense and in the bad sense, because
Right.
some of the books were really good, some of the
Hmm.
books weren't what I had
Yeah.
expected,
It's a
from
mixed bag.
CG.
It really is a
But
mixed bag. Yeah.
yeah, it is. But yeah, that sentiment still stays. Like if there's somebody out there
Hmm.
who's who I can support in any kind of way,
Right.
I'll do my best. Me
Yeah.
being an artist, I also do fan art a lot to help put some eyes in
Oh
some way
yeah, yeah.
on
I've
characters.
seen you do that. Yeah.
And
Much respect for that.
and so yeah, so I'm all about supporting
Yeah.
the people that need it and are really passionate about
Well,
uh,
yeah.
and
One thing
hope this
about
sub-genre.
somebody, a smaller creator. Hey, hell, Piggy. Uh, D-Bag's also a promoter of
Ojo's
smaller creators.
yeah,
Yeah,
D-Bag is the
yeah,
best.
he is definitely. Um, but one thing about that, these smaller creators, most of the time, these guys have lived with this concept for decades. Okay, uh, and so what they're bringing to it is this: they've lived with this for a long, long time. These characters are as real to them as you are to me right now.
Hmm.
You know, like Ironsides, definitely. And basically, so you have to understand that that you're going to find a level of passion in these smaller creations and smaller creators that might not be there with the bigger guys because they're taught to do your book and move on, and so
Yeah,
maybe they don't have the attachment to their IP that these smaller guys do.
yeah,
I mean, there are some that you definitely see the passion in it. Like EVS has been doing Cyberfrog since he was a teenager, so
yeah.
somebody like that, definitely. But it's like Ironsides. Uh, I've lived with that guy for a long, long time, and yet I have a definite attachment to him and to the story around him, and to this motley crew of people. Um, but I go even further though. The world that I deal with, the world that I write in, is it has its own laws and has its own rules. Yeah. Uh, and uh, and because of that, I can write an infinite amount of stories in this world.
Yeah.
And so basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to land a jumbo jet onto the head of a pin.
Nice.
Uh, so
That's the
uh,
best right there.
yeah, because every time I show people, the what I've got going on, my world Bible, they always say like, "Whoa, man, you're not messing around, are you?"
Nice.
uh, yeah.
What's going on,
Mythicals,
George?
that's another one. That's a good one. Hey there, everyone. Great stream. Hey, Wiki Fever. Uh,
Yeah.
but so basically, what the problem that we have is that there's bad advice floating around. That's reiterated and reiterated, and goes in other shows. People have listened to the bigger streams, some ex pros, and ex pros have left. Yeah, Odin Dasco. Yeah, Conditional Shove is going live. Yeah. Go swap them. I'll DM you. Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, the thing about it is though is these guys have come out of the mainstream and they dealt with some of the most god awful human beings that have ever walked the face of the planet, and they all happen to be writers.
Yeah.
And I mean, the murderer's row is there. Kelly Sue DeConnick. Who doesn't
Oh.
want to punch her in the face? Okay. I mean, even I don't care if you're a priest, you want to punch her in the face because she's just so smug, so smug. Uh, and not literally. I'm just talking figuratively, okay? Because she's the smuggest human being I think I've ever laid eyes on. Don't buy my
Okay.
comics. If you don't like my, if you don't like
Yeah.
my politics, don't buy my comics, right? And then she's like,
Okay, I'm not buying that.
well, I don't know why comics is dying now, but Yeah, or Gail Simone. I mean, does anybody like, you know, make somebody feel like a 12 a toddler than Gail Simone? Yeah, she treats everybody
Yeah.
like a toddler, basically, including her husband, rocket spouse or whatever. But these are god awful people, and they have been the downfall of comics, right? But
Yeah.
and they just happen to be writers because writers they they can write a script. Bad writers can just knock a script out in a couple of days, and then they can just wander around and wreaking havoc on Twitter for the rest of the time, right?
And Mope. Yeah.
And because of that, these guys have come out of the mainstream with these negative attitudes about writing, and they've expressed them. That anybody can write. Writing's not important, right?
Yeah.
And what's happened is these smaller creators have gotten it in their head that the writing is not as big an art form or important an art form as as art.
Yeah.
And
They associate the damage to writing. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and so you'll get these comic books that are people's first shot, and they'll probably wind up being their last shot.
Yeah.
And it's because they wrote the script themselves and they didn't run it by anybody, and
Yeah.
it was their first draft because they didn't know that they had to like hone anything, and
Yeah.
uh
That's true.
and they've never seen good writing, so they don't know what good writing looks like. And because of that, it's I created General Piggy said something right there.
Yeah, Kelly Sue DeConnick probably only got involved in the comics because of the Big
Yeah,
Bang Theory.
yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
true.
And she looks just like Amy Farrah Fowler. So there you go. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, but basically, and and essentially, the phrase that I hear most often, the one that just makes me want to punch a hole in the wall, is that anybody can write. No, not anybody can write.
Why is
Writing,
that?
yeah, and
Why is that?
well, I think it's because it's dismissing writing as an art form, basically because they've been around people for whom writing wasn't an art form, and
Exactly.
so if you don't see like the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into a script, a good script, if
Yeah.
you don't see the endless rewrites, the running it by other people, the editing and things that takes place in honing a script until it's perfect for the artist to even get started, and good script will have the dialogue will be there, the action will be there, the pacing will be there, the characterization is where most people fall down.
So
Okay.
dialogue, pacing, characterization. These are concepts that
Yeah.
should be like the foundation, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
for a well written comic. Okay.
Right. Right. Um, like like I'll take for instance one that everybody knows, the Watchmen. Okay.
Okay.
The Watchmen had this noir, this film noir type of uh, unreliable narrator, which turns out to be Rorschach. Okay, and it's got this slow burn, but it starts out with murder, and then it starts out with this mystery, and then it just takes you through, and you don't find out who killed the comedian, but the first line is a comedian dies in New York, right? And got the blood on the smiley face button, right? And that's the image, right? But all this is conceived of, and it's all like Rorschach in himself is a genius character, unless you forget the dialogue. You don't understand. You're not trapped in here with me, or I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me, right? And so basically, uh, it's a slow burn. It's a mystery, and it's the pacing's there, the characterization's there, the atmosphere is there, and all of this is because Alan Moore is a bad, bad man. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, no matter how crazy he is, no matter how like nutty he is with the whole snake worship or whatever he's into, uh, but you get an Alan Moore book, you know what you're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get that characterization, you're gonna get that plot, you're gonna get, you're gonna get the pacing, uh,
Right.
and that takes years. Frank Miller, anything Frank Miller writes, he's got a certain pace to everything he writes, and
Yeah.
he's got a certain tension to everything he writes, and he really understands characters, what makes characters tick. Okay,
Yeah.
nobody's written Daredevil like Frank Miller. Everybody after he wrote Daredevil writes
Yeah.
writes Frank
Yeah.
Miller's
That.
Daredevil.
Yeah. That born again story was really, really good. Really,
Right?
really good. I really
Oh,
liked what he did there, and
yeah.
I like the concept of that I've seen
Hmm.
over. I've seen many times in comics, now of
Yeah.
stripping down the character, taking him back to basics, making him find himself, and
Right.
and
Right.
going back to like because you give a character gadgets, you give a character technology, and it's like solving
Yeah.
the problem is just pew pew, and then I win.
Right.
No, but
Right.
having the character put in the position where they have to think, they have to like find a way to overcome
Hmm. Right.
problems that on the surface could be easy, but a little bit more difficult. No, it's really
Hmm.
good. It's really good. It's
Right.
really I like how those kinds of stories are put together, and yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
You have to be very careful with it.
No.
Um,
There's a very
and,
famous writer in CG right now. And if I told you his name, you would know exactly who it is because he writes everything. Okay. Especially for bigger creators, and he writes to the art. He doesn't
yeah.
write to the story. He doesn't write to the character, but he writes to the art, which is
Okay.
why he's so popular with artists. Okay. And he writes a beautiful panel, and these guys love like drawing his panel, his writing, right?
Okay.
But his characters are all about as deep as a mud puddle.
Yeah.
And I stopped backing his books because of that, because I got enough of his writing to know that I'm not going to get characterization with him. I might get pacing, I might get plot, and
A
I'll
cool
certainly
action
get I'll
sequence.
I'll certainly get like a lot of yeah, I'll get sequences, but I'm not going to get character.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to get anybody to care about. I'm not going to feel stakes because oh, somebody got killed off. Okay,
Yeah.
well, whatever, Uh, it shouldn't
Bojo.
be. It shouldn't be South Park. Oh, they killed Kenny. Okay, well, yeah, whatever. Moving on. They killed Kenny again. Okay, whatever. And that's what it feels like. It's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And what if somebody gets killed off in your comic, and it doesn't make somebody put that comic down and like ruminate for a minute, then
Yeah.
you're not doing your job. It should hurt when
Yeah.
somebody dies in your comic. It should impact.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Uh
going for something like that in my own book too.
yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
character. There's a character in my story that I want to kill off, and when I kill him off, I
Right.
want it like you're saying. I want it to hurt because
Yeah.
I think I think it's something that makes the story memorable. And
Right.
I
Right.
always go back to a video game. The video
Yeah.
game is Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if you played that game, but
Uh
one of there's a moment in that book in that game
yeah.
where they kill off one of the main characters,
Hmm.
and to me at that time when I played it was unfathomable to see that one of the main characters actually dies,
Right.
and it left an impact. Like I was playing the rest of the game without this character, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I missed this character. Where is she? Like I want to continue playing with her. And then you
Uh
go through the end of the game, the
yeah.
character never comes back, and then that moment
Yeah.
sits in you, like for the rest,
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
You genuinely lost somebody. You genuinely
Exactly. And
lost
so
somebody.
and
Uh
I want to do something like that in comics because over the
mhm.
last few years, for example, with
Right.
Superman and many other characters, they die, and then
Yeah.
in some cases, like the next issue, they're back, and it's like
Hmm.
there's I was just
There's
grieving for this guy.
yeah,
Now he's
there's no
back again.
stakes.
What's going on?
There's no
Yeah,
stakes. Luke Stone has his Cyber series. He keeps like dropping hints that he's killing somebody off that you're going to care that you care about because his hybrid series is written so well. that the idea that he's going to kill somebody off is not it's not a happy thought for me, because
Yeah.
I've lived with these guys, all these books, and this core group of people, I care about all of them because he
Yeah.
wrote them so well. And
Nice.
and he's going to kill one off, and I've been like cussing him, cussing him every time he brings it up. I'm like, don't you dare touch his character. And he's like that tongue in cheeks, like, maybe they
Yeah.
survive, maybe they don't, and I'm like, you
Yeah.
jerk,
I have I haven't had a chance yet to read hybrids. I've been I
Yeah.
want to, but I don't know exactly.
Uh,
Maybe Luke can tell me later on or something. But I don't
yeah.
know, like if there's like or if he has like digital comics where you can start from the very beginning. Because I think
Yep.
in this last campaign he did, if I'm not mistaken, issues 7, 8, and 9.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I wanted to get it, but I was like, but I don't
Yeah.
want to jump in the midpoint. I want to
He's
start
got
from
the
the
first
beginning.
arc available on his website right now. It's
Yes, I'll check that
remastered.
out.
Yeah, it's a
Check that
remastered.
out.
It's the first arc. I think it's the first 4 books in one. It might be the first 5,
Nice.
but
Awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out.
yeah,
And, and
yeah, it's
I'm
worth
sorry.
it.
No, now that you mentioned
Hmm.
writing and some of these troubles that they have, what are
Hmm.
some pet peeves, some specific things that you just
Okay,
you open the book and this is just super annoying.
right, right. Okay. A big pet peeve of mine is is basically when I feel like I'm looking at a first draft. Uh,
What do you
when
mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is there's a fit and polish to a script that that bleeds through to the actual produced comic that is not there. If you want to know what that looks like, the crackhead edition of Bancroft's Lucent, okay,
Oh
that
man,
he
I
put
missed
out.
that. Yeah, I wonder. I
It,
hope he puts that back up because
yeah.
I asked
Uh-huh.
in one of his streams I asked him through the chat. I asked him if
Yeah.
like what was there a significant difference between having
Hmm.
Joe Fulton as the
Right.
editor, after he had
Yeah.
written the book, and he said, yeah, he told me, he said at the time that there
Hmm.
was things that he has suggested, things and plot elements that
Yeah.
changed, and he said no, that the unscripted one is was his efforts,
Yeah.
and then the final one is with the editing process, and I wanted to see that because I want to see
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
impact an editor
it's
has.
worth a look.
Yeah,
It's worth a
yeah,
look. But yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. And also, basically, characters who are only there because of their physical attributes. That is a big pet peeve of mine. Okay, nice
for
Halloween. I'll be signing up, and I
males
think
and
this is part of
females,
the
or
story.
just specifically.
Well, I'm talking about TNA. That's just there for
Yeah,
TNA. Okay, you can have a sexy character, have us have depth, have them have impact on the story and be significant. Look at Billy Tucci's She.
yeah,
Anna Ishikawa is no joke. Okay, she's dangerous, she's scary, but she's also vulnerable, and she's sexy as all get out. She started the whole bad girl movement in the
yeah,
'90s, because he came out of fashion illustration for fashion magazines. That's where he cut his teeth, and so he drew this woman with this incredible look to her, but she was a character. She had depth. Yes, there was plenty of TNA to go around, man. That whole kabuki look that she has. I mean, yeah, she's still jaw dropping even to this day.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she's just not a set of physical attributes. Okay, she has depth to her. She has character. Uh, and I, and here she is, like a mother. In the next book, he like wrote a sequel, and I got that one. Uh, and I wanted to see how he made this sexy lady. Did she lose any sex appeal by making her a
Yeah.
mother? And and absolutely not. She did not lose any sex appeal by making her a mother. Uh, it's funny because she's trying to fit in her costume, and she's like fretting because she's like, I gained weight, and things like that.
Yeah,
And it was hilarious. But
nice.
that I don't like that TNA for the sake of TNA, and I got a young girl in my book who is actually her soul is like grafted with a another basically a Barbary pirates. Okay,
Okay.
a pirate queen. She was essentially a pirate queen, and and so they like her. They like switch places. And like she brings that pirate queen onto this plane, and she like goes. They switch places, and the pirate queen was incredible swordsman, and she has a sword that like cuts through corrupted souls
Oh wow.
and in anything else, but it it'll cut a corrupted soul, but it won't cut anybody within that's innocent, but it will cut a corrupted soul, and
That's interesting.
and
That's
and
good.
so and basically she's like the my world's Punisher, and she's killed a lot of. She's
Nice.
basically like almost eliminated white slavery in this world,
Nice.
but but the thing about it is though is I could very easily make that like you know push up the sex appeal. I've got a pinup guy who's just chomping at the bit. And I'm gonna turn him loose on it eventually. Uh, but that's inherently sexy. Okay, you got a pirate woman. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean there's this infinite amount of sex appeal that you can go there.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but but the thing about it is I didn't put her there to be sexy. I put her there because that was where that was the character. Okay,
Yeah.
and then I've got this other lady who has the ability to cancel powers or boost your powers, but she can't control which. So she's either your death or she's your salvation, but there's nowhere in between with her, right? And
Oh,
she's called Switch, but she was like a celebutante. Okay, she's been in the public eye for a while, and she's got purple hair. She's like SJW. She's pushing those causes and everything. She's hilarious to write, but man, she's appeal.
that's so good.
But yeah, but she's all sex appeal. I mean, my guy who designed her, he kind of like she kind of like became his thing because he drew her like multiple ways and multiple, you know, and
Different in
yeah,
different costumes.
well, yeah,
Yeah, like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
he got obsessed with drawing her for a little while there, so I knew
Nice.
I knew he liked her a lot. But
Sweet.
yeah, but Aaron Jordan, who's a incredible writer, who's in the Genesis crew, he calls her. Yeah, he said that's my waifu. Anyway, no one's ever really gone line too literally, right? Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. General Piggy said mentioned this
Mhm.
earlier.
Yeah,
The main should to that no one's ever really gone. Yeah. Too
right.
little. Yeah. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. And
Hmm.
if I may
Go ahead.
uh I was this next question is how do you become a writer? Like, but
Okay.
you mentioned that there's things that you have to understand.
Hmm.
If there is someone out there who's willing to understand it,
Yeah.
can they become a writer? How can you identify a writer? Like, just
Yeah.
how does that work? How can
Okay. The difference between a writer and someone who writes is a writer. Uh, okay. This is my concept. Okay. Uh, a writer is an archaeologist. Okay. And an archaeologist is trained to once they've located the fossil, is to extract it from the ground and as intact as possible. I got this concept from Stephen King's book on writing. It's a
okay?
brilliant book. Anybody gets that book and reads it. Okay, even though Stephen King is a dipshit, uh,
Yeah, I
he
was
was on
about to say
he was
that
on enough
he's a douche.
drugs. Yeah, he
What do
was on
you,
enough drugs, and when he wrote this book, that it like removed his stupidity, and he actually got to the
yeah,
brilliance underneath.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's the best book on writing I've ever read, and it's like
And this is
it's
just
not
for
even
writing in
close
general or for comic writing?
for writing in
Just
general.
writing in
Yeah,
general.
but that translates. It
Yeah,
translates to the
yeah,
art form, and comic writing is a different animal, and I'm having trouble, kind of adjusting. But
yeah.
comic writing is like more like script writing. than it
Yeah,
is like anything else.
like novels. Yeah, yeah,
Right, right. It's the way you conceive of it, right? Uh, but the thing about it is, it's a pre-existing artifact, and a good archaeologist can get the fossil out of the ground. It can differentiate what's the bone and what's the surrounding soil. Okay, and knows what to pull out. Okay, uh, the difference between a bad writer and a good writer is not what they put in, but it's what they leave out.
okay,
Uh, and a good writer knows, knows, okay, that's surrounding soil, that doesn't matter. This is important, this is the fossil, let me extract that from the ground. Okay, and they can get that thing intact, right? um
yeah,
but if writing, like I say, writing's a pre-existing artifact, you got to tune into that frequency. You got to hone in on what the story is, hone in what who these characters are, and write it like
yeah.
it comes to you. Okay, and the best writing happens organically. Uh, you see this in songwriting, especially. Uh,
Organically, in the sense like that you just write whatever comes to your mind, or how what do you mean
well,
by
the story takes
write
its own
itself?
shape. The
Yeah,
story takes its own shape. Okay, you can tell when people have enforced a story into a plot structure,
yeah.
or forced their politics onto a story,
Do,
or
do
you can
when
tell
when
when.
when when that happens, is that normally what causes like loopholes in stories, or is that
Yeah, yeah. Um, Well, yeah, loopholes are plot holes. Can happen to
plot holes? Is
anybody.
the
It can
word, yeah.
happen to, no matter how good a writer is. That's why you need an editor. Plot
Yeah,
holes are something an editor catches that writers don't necessarily catch. Uh, you need
yeah, that's
somebody with
probably
some perspective that's not like living with the story in your head. Okay,
yeah,
so they have
yeah,
some
because that'll make you
perspective on
miss a lot of things. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, yeah. Because especially in dialogue, because you hear these people in your head, and you don't always write down what's in your head, and
Mm.
sometimes you need somebody like, oh, this doesn't make sense or whatever. Uh, but um, but yeah, you're basically an archaeologist. You're getting this story out of the ground. It's an organic, pre-existing thing, and and you're essentially, and that's when you get the best writing, is when you don't know what's going to happen next because you're the first reader. And if you got a story that moves you, if you got a twist that you didn't see coming, and if you got if the ending makes you cheer, then it's going to make the person that reads it cheer. Okay.
Yeah,
And what you've got right now is you got people who are not coming from a place of purity. They're not coming from a place of story. They're coming from a place of agenda. Okay.
yeah,
They're generating the story, and that's why the story is so lifeless and pat. That's why it's basically a regurgitation of something they've seen from some other media. Okay,
mhm,
when you see somebody who's like tapped into whatever it is, I call it the ether. Okay, they're
yeah,
tapped into whatever source the story comes from. Maybe it's a parallel universe we're seeing, or maybe it's a creation of the Godhead in us. Uh, but when you see somebody that's truly tapped into that, what they'll write things that are just uh that feel like they're taking no taking dictation from somebody else's story.
yeah.
You know, uh, and the more you get yourself out of it, the more that it's going to come through you, but the less of you that's in it, the better it's going to be. Okay,
Mm.
because you are going to shape it. uh if you shape anything that comes out of the source, then it no longer becomes, it changes it. you know
Yeah,
it's like a corruption enters into it.
that
Like,
sounds incredibly challenging.
it's very challenging, and it takes years to learn to do it.
Yeah,
and
because
and
you would I like for example I'm picturing like
uh-huh.
I'm imagining like for example having to write dialogue
Yeah,
for a character that is completely your opposite
right.
in the way that you behave.
Yeah.
But how do you know what they're going to say if you're not even in that mindset? So
Well, if
that's
you
a
get
checklist.
yourself out of it, if you get yourself
Yeah,
out of it, they will tell you what they're going to say.
yeah. Like
And
for
I've
example,
had this
yeah,
happen. I've had this happen where
yeah.
I've had characters actually start talking to me, and it's the creepiest thing. But
Which is one reason why I thought it was genius that last bit in the Lucent where he's got these interviews with his characters. I
interviews,
thought that was just genius. That was
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
I need
I
to
love
learn
it
how
when
to do that
I
with
love it
my
when the old guy just crosses his arms and he's like, "Who are you to from
characters.
I mean, why am I even talking to you? You know, I mean, you're nobody. Why am I even
Yeah,
talking to you?"
it
Uh,
gives the characters more depth and makes them more real. Than no, it's really
yeah.
I was amazed by that. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, good stuff. Yeah,
And he is he's so tapped into those characters that he can do that. Uh
yeah,
but that takes years.
yeah.
And it's not going to happen overnight. Am I going to sit down and be able to draw a Superman with a foreshortening and flying
Yeah,
at me, first time out of the bat?
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's a few blessed people who could do that.
yeah, yeah,
They just have it, whatever it is. Okay, like Frank Frazetta.
yeah,
Frank Frazetta was drawing advanced figurines by the time he was 13.
yeah,
Uh, not a, that's rare. Okay,
yeah.
but
That's cool.
right. The thing about it is, though, is it takes years of learning to excavate that fossil, and
Yeah.
it takes years of learning to remove yourself, but still keep your style in it. Yeah.
Now, for example, like in terms of art,
Mm-hmm.
you say it takes years,
Yeah.
and I fully agree. And
Mm-hmm.
for example, for an artist, in that time frame, in the years that pass by, you draw every day.
Right. Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
assuming for writers, you write every day. Whether I
Yeah.
mean, do you put out? Should you set
Well,
a
you
goal for
either
yourself to
write or
put out three
you can either write or you conceive.
or
You
conceive? Okay.
basically writers just like an artist will create a bank of images in his head, or he'll see something and he'll draw it to challenge
Mhm.
himself. Writers will listen to people talk and
Yeah.
steal stuff. Or writers will hear somebody tell a story and they're like, put that in the bank. Or they
Yeah.
will pick up a book of somebody that they respect, somebody who they like, and read that book. And it all
In
goes into the it's like, cooking with the best ingredients.
exactly. Yeah.
If you Yeah.
Is there a writing equivalent to a pinup? Like something that you can write quick that you can make in
uh
a day or two, and then
yeah, there
or are there
is.
writing exercises?
Well, I would say that like what I'm doing right now with there's a anthology. It's called we call it O3, but
Okay,
it stands for Out of Obscurity.
nice.
And it's conceived of by Luke Stone, and it's this group called Circle of Wind that and a bunch of guys out of that. Right now we got a 90 some page book, but it's 6 page. We've all took a public domain character and kind of like wrote the 6 page story with them. And
Nice.
we're gonna get like up and coming artists to contribute, and we're gonna
Nice.
and basically that's a 6 page story is a difficult thing to do, uh, and it takes a
Because it's
lot
so
of
concise, huh?
yeah, because it's so concise. There's no fat on it,
Yeah.
and it's an ultimate challenge. I mean, anybody can write something sprawling.
Yeah.
Get into your head and start writing 500,000 words. That's something that most writers that worth their salt can do,
Yeah.
just a drop of a hat. But
Does that also apply, for example, to like comic strips? Would, for example, like writing comic strips are like just normally one pages, I'm
yeah,
sorry, one page or a few
hmm
panels long. But is that also does that have a
oh
greater
yeah,
difficulty to itself also?
oh definitely, definitely. Like the best stand up comedians. The best stand-up comedians, they write bits, and they hone these bits, and
Yeah.
most of the time you see a special that's after the guys worked in the clubs for about 100 hours.
Nice.
And you don't see what you see is like a tight, concise, you know, felt out, entity that they've been honing for months and maybe even years,
Nice.
uh, and basically, it takes a we're basically distillation, okay. The reason why I hate people that just use first drafts or use the first thing that came to them, it's because we're distillers, okay, and we got the raw product, and it's up to us to burn it down to its constituent elements and get the most pure thing out the other end, okay.
That's
and
up.
uh and that's an art, man. That's an art.
Yeah.
My dad's people were moonshiners, and they were well known
Nice.
for their shine. But they started
Yeah,
out with
yeah.
yeah, but
I
they
have a lot of
started out with
respect
the
for
best
moonshine.
water. They started out with this incredible water that's in an aquifer up in the mountains where they are. Uh, and so everybody tasted that in the shine, this great water that they have, the great mineral content in that water. But that's what they started with. They started with the best product, but still they got to take that pure source and add their magic to it and distill it down and and make the best stuff out coming out the other end. Uh,
Nice. Yeah, I have
and
a
then
lot of respect for moonshine because I
yeah,
took moonshine one time too fast. And I did. I woke up the next day. Yeah,
right.
a lot of respect for moonshine.
Well, you can
How
get
you doing,
rock
Bob?
gut, but you can get. I don't drink, but I'm told that good moonshine is an art form.
Yeah, it snuck
You
up
know,
on me. I was not expecting it to hit me so quick and
right?
strong.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, we're coming up on
Okay,
an hour and 30. We'll probably have to
sure.
cut it short a little bit because I have to.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Like I said, I
But
can talk about this
yeah,
stuff all day.
yeah, and actually, the to be honest with you, I only got
Mhm.
to like half of my questions.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
tell you,
so
right,
yeah,
right,
so
right.
yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part two to this because this is a
Okay,
really interesting. I'm really yeah,
sure.
I'm enjoying this a lot.
Hmm.
Maybe one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
What are five well written comics that you would recommend?
Okay, five well-written comics that I
It
would
doesn't have to
recommend.
necessarily be CG or indie
Oh,
comics, but just five
right,
comics. Just like
right.
they you mentioned Watchmen. I don't know if you want to use that one, but you mentioned Watchmen. Yeah.
Uh,
What other five?
okay. Okay. I would go. Definitely. Batman
So,
Year One.
which one?
Batman Year One.
Year one.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the best origin story ever created. There's Batman Year One, and then there's everything after Batman Year One. Uh, okay. I would definitely say that uh, anything in the Mutant Massacre, Mutant Massacre arc, X-Men. Any of those books are good. Any of them.
Nice.
They went to a very special place when they created that series. If you find an omnibus, grab it. Okay.
Nice.
Uh, Marvels. Uh, it's
Yeah.
known for
Nice.
Alex Ross's art, but that is an incredibly written book. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Kimosabi recommended that one also. Yeah.
yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah. If you can get a hold of it. Now, Norm Leinert would probably get mad at me for saying this, but Kingdom Come is also similarly a decent book,
Which one?
decently written. Kingdom Come, it's also an
Kingdom
Alex
Come. Yeah.
Ross. Uh,
And
but
why? Why?
I put those together. I definitely put those together uh,
Okay.
as one entry. Yeah, but definitely Monster MD impressed me.
Nice. Okay. Nice. I
Uh,
got that.
some people think it meandered some, but I just it was just pure character. It was just pure character. He took
Yeah.
the people that the things that go bump in the night and made them lovable,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I really enjoyed what he did with that story. Really good, and
yeah,
I like that there's it's just one concise one story from
mhm,
beginning to end,
yeah,
and finishes off on a high note. And
yeah,
yeah, it's really good. So
mhm,
good that it influenced a lot about what I plan on doing with my book also, which
yeah,
is yeah,
yeah.
really good. Your Monster
Vaughn's
MD,
got game. Vaughn's got
yeah,
some hell of a game.
yeah,
He
he's
really does.
incredibly talented. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good, really good writer. I respect.
Well, I'd add one more, and that's the Lucent.
The
Okay.
Lucent. Nice.
Now, I'll add a caveat. The Lucent doesn't answer any questions. That
Yeah.
it poses a lot of them, but it doesn't answer anything.
It's intriguing AF. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
you're not if you read the Lucent, don't expect to come out the other side knowing what the hell the Lucent is, because
Yeah,
you're not. But what it is it's a world building on a
yeah,
level uh, on a level that we just don't see very often.
yeah,
Okay, you just get the feeling that you're stepping into something, that you've
yeah.
gone into a parallel dimension, and
Nice.
very few comics will do that for you.
Yeah,
But Painted Death, yep, will probably. He said Painted Death is going to be over 90 some pages, I think.
yeah.
So,
If I'm not mistaken, he gave me the impression. I think in one
mhm.
of his streams where he was talking, because I think he was on a stream with
Yeah,
Alejandro with Infinity Comics, and they were talking about
right.
his book. And I think it was there that he mentioned that he
Hmm.
might be doing like a 6 part story,
Yeah,
like the whole arc
right.
for Ella's story is about 6 issues in. And
Yeah.
yes, it's gonna. It sounds. It
W-
looks. I mean, I've read the
mhm.
first one. I got the first one.
Yeah,
Incredibly well written book. I think.
right. Well, I think he jumps around so many places, and
Yeah.
he doesn't answer anything, and I like that. I like that, and the dialogue of the interviews in the back were
Genius. Yeah.
just they were just pure. I mean, it was just pure writing.
Yeah.
I understood these characters in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
And that takes guts to do that. It takes guts to do that.
Yeah.
Because he's like saying, okay, I'm just assuming you don't need boobs and rifle shots or gun shots on every single page. I'm gonna put this in here, and it's just pure storytelling. And
Yeah.
I did appreciate that. So yeah, Batman Year One, and
Yeah.
Marvel's
Marvel's
Kingdom
Kingdom
Come.
Come,
Yeah,
Monster MD, The
the Mutant
Lucent,
Massacre arc, everything in the
The
Mutant
Mutant.
Massacre
Yeah.
arc,
Yeah. That's
and
a good list.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Any of those are really good writing, and they're well written in a different way. Um,
Yeah.
but Mutant Massacre, if you get anything out of the Mutant Massacre, it will change your writing.
Nice.
Uh, they
Gotta check
just
it
did
out.
something very special with that. They just did.
Yeah.
There's this moment where
Don't
this
spoil it.
this
I haven't
well
read it.
okay.
Please, please.
Okay, I'll just say this: there's a moment with Colossus
God,
where
nice.
Colossus breaks bad, and this
Oh,
gentle soul loses it, and
yeah.
it gave me chills. Okay,
That's also something that I really like is when a character is forced into a situation where they have to do something they
yeah,
normally would never do. That's awesome. Yeah, I
right.
like when
Yeah, he
when
went
they do that.
Wolverine. Okay,
Oh, sounds
he went
great.
Wolverine. Okay,
Oh,
and yeah, yeah, it was one of the best things I've ever seen. And
nice.
it was all done in like it was just so well drawn, and it was
Nice.
such an incredible character moment.
That's awesome.
It's yeah, get the Mutant Massacre.
Yeah,
And it,
I haven't read that. I'll check that out for sure.
yeah, if you can find an omnibus, get the whole arc. But I mean, it's about a massacre. I mean, it's a hard read, but the character that they got, the plotting that they did, and it was across multiple books, you know, and the book, and it was really, you could tell that there was a mastermind behind it all, because a team that was going through something in this book would show up at a cameo in this book, and they're still going through that thing.
Yeah,
And so you could tell they are all
cool.
in one room together, and they came up with the story, and they wove it together.
That's
And
awesome.
it's probably Marvel Comics at its pinnacle.
That's
Uh,
awesome. Awesome
so,
stuff, man. And
all right.
and yeah, just to wrap up, T Bunny, where can we find you? Where can we find you? Where can we get in contact?
Well,
To see
I'm
you.
T Bunny on Twitter. I'm also have the T Bunny Comics or Telepathic Bunny Comics. I'm sorry, not T Bunny. It's Telepathic Bunny on Twitter. It's Telepathic Bunny Comics on YouTube, and And I'm also on Instagram as a Telepathic Bunny. Uh, so
I had no idea.
I don't know if I did comics on that one, but you just pretty much type in Telepathic Bunny, and if I'm on that platform, that's what's gonna pop up.
Sweet. Awesome.
There's not very many of us out there, so
That's awesome.
all
And
right, no problem, man.
and yeah, so and then for the rest, for me, my name is
Mhm.
Elliot. You can see my name here. You catch me on YouTube, on
Yep,
Twitter, the same as T Bunny. I'm on all social media,
yep.
and yeah, just yeah, just
I think
be sure.
Hojo had one last
Yeah,
recommendation.
he's got one Excalibur. He said,
Yeah, Excalibur. Yep.
yeah, he recommends that also. I'll check that out also.
All right, no problem.
And yeah, so please, if you like
Hmm.
the stream, the conversation, please like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna
Yep.
come back next week with a
Okay.
different guest. I don't know who it is yet, but I'll be sure to announce it in time.
If you want to
And
do a makeup or do a second part of this, I'm game.
yeah, yeah.
So,
We'll definitely. I'll definitely have T Bunny back on so I can get
mhm.
the other half of these questions answered.
No
and
problem, man. No problem. I'm a
yeah,
talker.
so
I'm a talker, man.
yeah. No, I enjoy it. It was great. And thank you very much to everybody in the chat. I really appreciate you guys showing up. And that's it. And I'll catch you guys next week.
All right.
And yeah, my sister's all for it. Part 2. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, no problem, man.
Awesome. And yeah, so that's it. See you guys later.
All right.
Have a great day.
Yeah, have a
Peace.
nice day, man. Bye.
You too. And I'm out. One second. One second.